Dry foods stored inside recycled cardboard boxes for just 6 weeks absorbed mineral oil hydrocarbons at 10 times the recommended safety limit. That happened through both a clean inner box and a plastic film barrier. Every single sample of recycled paperboard tested for food contact contained bisphenol A, up to 26.4 milligrams per kilogram of board. In Norway alone, at least 32 kilograms of per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, move invisibly through returned corrugated paper and board every single year. The source of all of this is the plain brown cardboard box. This is the very box gardeners are told is safe, natural, and good for soil. The ancient anchor. Sheet mulching is old. Farmers laid straw, leaves, seaweed, and wood chips over bare soil, long before cardboard existed. The goal was always the same: suppress weeds, hold moisture, and feed the soil as the material broke down. These were materials pulled directly from the land, chemically far simpler than the crops growing above them, carrying no industrial chemistry into the ground. That changed slowly. In the 1970s, Bill Mollison and David Holmgren developed permaculture as a design system, and sheet mulching with newspaper and cardboard became one of its signature no-dig techniques. The logic made sense at the time. Cardboard was cheap, widely available, and appeared to be just compressed wood fiber. Lay it down, smother the weeds, top it with compost and straw, and let the worms do the rest. By the early 2000s, Toby Hemingway's book, Gaia's Garden, had codified what he called bomb-proof sheet mulch for home gardeners. Cardboard and black and white newsprint were framed as safe, natural, and chemically simple. The advice spread through workshops, blogs, and gardening forums. Millions of gardeners adopted it. The safety assumption underneath all of it rested on old chemistry, soy-based inks, simple wood pulp fiber, and starch-based glue. Materials that looked and behaved like the soil itself. What nobody accounted for was what the cardboard had become. And if you want to understand more about the history they stopped teaching, subscribe so you will not miss a future video. Because the industry was about to build a multi-billion-dollar green reputation on a foundation they had not actually tested. PFAS, perfluoroalkyl substances, were already being used in paper products by the 1960s, added for grease and water resistance. But the analytical tools needed to measure PFAS in recycled paper streams and to trace where those chemicals went afterward did not produce mainstream findings until the 2010s and the 2020s. The practice of cardboard mulching was popularized in a window when the chemistry of recycled packaging was genuinely poorly understood. The idea that cardboard is safe became dogma before the evidence existed to test it. The advice did not change. But the cardboard did. The silent shift. The cardboard industry says it's a success story. Recycling rates run between 71 and 82% across Europe and the United States. The industry says cardboard is good for the planet. They call it a green choice because it can be used over and over. That story isn't wrong, but it's just missing one big thing. None of that messaging mentions the thousands of chemicals in printing inks, adhesives, and coatings that travel through every box. They only talk about the wood, not the chemicals. Tree goes in, box comes out, box gets recycled, tree goes in again. What actually travels with the fiber does not fit that picture, so it does not appear in the marketing. Gardening media filled in the rest. At least one landscaping supplier told customers to reuse its cardboard as a weed barrier. They called it a sustainability win. No mention of what the cardboard might carry. Organic gardening blogs repeated that cardboard inks were soy-based and safe. Some mainstream gardening publications told readers directly that there was nothing to worry about. The inks are vegetable-based. The box is just wood pulp. The science telling a different story had been building since 2010. That year, European researchers found mineral oil hydrocarbons from recycled cardboard in dry foods. The levels were 10 to 100 times the recommended limit. There are two types, MOSH and MOAH. Food safety regulators took notice. Gardening media did not. By 2013, a study in food chemistry found bisphenol A in all 17 recycled paperboard samples tested. Concentrations reached up to 26.4 milligrams per kilogram. It migrated into food. The gardening advice did not update. In 2019, research in environmental science and technology letters found that compost from facilities accepting paper food packaging carried total perfluoroalkyl acids of 29 to 76 micrograms per kilogram. Compost without that packaging measured under 8 micrograms per kilogram. A clear pathway from paper packaging to compost to farm fields was now published in the scientific record. Permaculture guides still said, "Avoid glossy inks, you are fine." In 2023, large-scale testing found total PFAS at up to 971 micrograms per kilogram in paper products. At least 32 kilograms of PFAS move through Norway's corrugated paper stream every year. That same year, a separate study raised chickens on recycled shredded cardboard bedding. PFAS, dioxins, polychlorinated biphenols, and brominated flame retardants moved from the bedding into eggs and tissue. Paper to animal food, measured and published. Popular no-dig gardening resources still did not mention PFAS. The USDA National Organic Program allows cardboard mulch if it is recycled, not waxed, not fungicide-treated, and free of glossy or colored inks. PFAS are not addressed in those rules. No testing is required. As of 2024, advocacy groups are urging the National Organic Standards Board to ban PFAS from the national list of allowed substances entirely. Cardboard mulch remains fully permitted. This is not a conspiracy. Nobody sat in a room and decided to hide the chemistry. What happened is more ordinary and harder to fix. An industry built its green identity around recycling and left the contamination science to someone else. A gardening culture adopted a cheap technique and stopped asking questions. A regulatory framework drew a line at glossy inks and called it done. For more than a decade, the evidence sat in food safety journals. Millions of gardeners kept laying boxes in their beds. Start with what the box actually is. Corrugated cardboard is wood pulp fiber, often heavily recycled, held together with starch-based glue, cornstarch, calcium carbonate, and small amounts of a fatty compound called stearin. That glue is genuinely benign. The fiber breaks down cleanly. The problem is not the base material. It is the hidden passenger that survives the high heat and chemical baths of the recycling plant, something the industry has known about since 2010. It is everything that came along for the ride. The paper layers inside a standard shipping box carry measurable heavy metals. Lead averages around 2.6 milligrams per kilogram. Copper runs higher at 25.4, zinc sits at 2.8, nickel near 1.8. Cadmium comes in at 0.094 milligrams per kilogram, and that's the smallest number on the list, but it's also one of the most concerning. Cadmium builds up in soil. It builds up in kidney tissue. It does not leave either one quickly. These metals come from printing colorants and pigments recycling through the fiber stream. Mineral oil hydrocarbons are a separate problem. Printing inks on paper and board contain MOSH, mineral oil saturated hydrocarbons, and MOAH, mineral oil aromatic hydrocarbons. Both survive the recycling process. Concentrations up to 1,000 milligrams per kilogram have been measured in paper products. In food storage studies, up to 70% of those oils migrated out of the board through a clean inner box and a plastic film barrier. If that is what happens to sealed dry food, what is happening to bare soil underneath a sheet of the same material? BPA showed up in all 17 recycled paperboard samples in a food chemistry study, ranging from 0.4 to 26.4 milligrams per kilogram. That same study found DEHP, di2-ethyl-hexyl phthalate, and nonylphenol ethoxylates. All three moved into food simulants within 30 to 100 days. Then there is bisphenol S, BPS. It shows up in most price labels. A separate study put fish in cold storage with thermal labels. BPS moved into the fish in just 5 days. Both BPA and BPS are being restricted in food contact materials. They are hormone disruptors. They interfere with the chemical signals your body uses to grow and stay healthy. PFAS levels rise with each recycling cycle. One study tracked PFAS levels across the recycling chain: 121 nanograms per gram in pre-consumer paper, 159 in retail grades, and 213 in return shipping boxes. Nearly half of all recycled paper globally feeds back into corrugated board production. That means post-consumer contamination keeps cycling back into new boxes. While the cardboard eventually breaks down in your garden, these chemicals are entering a cycle the human body is not equipped to break. One chemical is PFOA, and it stays in your blood for roughly 2.3 years after you stop being exposed. Another is PFOS, and it stays for roughly 8 years. These chemicals do not just pass through you, they pile up inside your body. Each new source adds to what was already there. The body has no fast way to clear them. The fiber breaks down. Starch glue breaks down. In a few months of soil contact, the physical cardboard is gone. The cadmium is still there. PFOS is still there. The MOAH fraction is still working its way through the soil profile. What disappears is the part you can see. What remains is the part that matters. You cannot pull these chemicals back out once they are in the ground. But there is a way to build the bomb-proof garden the pioneers promised, without the industrial baggage. The simplest swap is arborist wood chips. These are chipped tree prunings, mostly lignin, cellulose, and natural resins. No grease-resistant coatings, no recycled fiber pulling PFAS from the packaging stream. Applied 3 to 4 inches deep, wood chips suppress weeds effectively on pathways and around perennials. Landscape suppliers in the US price wood chip mulch at roughly $25 to $110 per cubic yard for materials. 1 cubic yard spread 3 inches deep covers about 100 to 160 square feet. That works out to somewhere between 25 cents and $1.10 per square foot, more than straw, less than most alternatives, and genuinely clean. Straw is the budget option. Applied 10 to 15 centimeters thick, straw suppresses annual weeds and costs roughly 3 to 6 cents per square foot from retail bales, typically priced at $8 to $11 each. A standard bale covers about 200 to 250 square feet used as mulch. Straw reflects whatever went into the grain crop, pesticide residues, whatever was in the irrigation water, but it does not import recycled packaging chemistry. The USDA organic rules list it as an approved non-synthetic mulch. It is not a perfect input. It is a much simpler one. Leaves cost nothing. Shredded at 5 to 10 centimeters depth, they suppress many annual weeds and contribute organic matter as they break down. Whole leaves can mat and block water if applied too thick, so shredding matters. The contamination picture for leaves is atmospheric background PFAS only, the same low-level exposure that is now present in rainwater globally. There is no recycled packaging chemistry, no printing ink mineral oils, no bisphenols from thermal labels. Municipal leaf pickup programs make this a zero-cost input in most cities. For weed control that matches what cardboard provides, combine compost with a thick top layer of wood chips or straw. Compost alone at 5 to 8 centimeters is not weed suppressive enough. Compost plus chips is. Compost source matters here. Some compost facilities accept paper food packaging, the cups and containers marketed as eco-friendly. Compost from those facilities tested at 29 to 76 micrograms per kilogram of PFAS. Facilities that do not accept that packaging tested under 8 micrograms per kilogram. That's a 4 to 10 times difference. When you call a supplier, ask one question. Do you accept food contact paper packaging? Because that's the number that matters. If you have already used cardboard mulch in your beds, the answer is not to tear everything up. It is to garden around what is there. Fruiting crops, Tomatoes, peppers, and squash accumulate less PFAS from soil than leafy greens or brassicas. If you've been growing lettuce or cabbage, kale or broccoli over cardboard-amended beds, that is worth knowing. Shifting those beds toward fruiting crops lowers your exposure without requiring you to abandon the garden. Peel root crops from those beds. Most of the chemicals stay on the outside of the vegetable. Peeling removes most of the danger. Add plenty of clean compost, sourced from packaging-free compost streams, to thin out the chemicals and trap them so roots cannot soak them up. Biochar might help slow the spread. It acts like a sponge in the soil. It traps PFAS before roots can reach them. Scientists are still testing it across different soil types. Results vary, but it is one of the more promising tools researchers are looking at right now. If you want to test your soil, know what you are getting into first. Testing for PFAS in soil costs between $300 and $500 per sample at specialized environmental labs. University soil labs that test pH and nutrients do not offer PFAS analysis. You will need sampling containers free of PFAS, no fluorinated gear, no Teflon, and strict handling protocols to avoid cross-contamination. For most home gardeners, that cost and complexity make precaution on inputs more practical than testing after the fact. The time to think about what goes into your beds is before it goes in. One more thing worth knowing: a USDA organic label on your produce does not mean the mulch inputs were screened for PFAS or mineral oil hydrocarbons. Organic rules drew a line at glossy inks and wax coatings. The PFAS gap is real, documented, and still open. The gardener's choice. You are the gardener who reads the chemistry, not just the label. You know that biodegradable describes what disappears, not what stays. PFAS move from soil into food, from food into blood, and they stay there for years. What you put on your beds is a decision about your body and your land, and now you are making it with open eyes. These chemicals have been inside recycled paper for 60 years. That story is what comes next. Subscribe to Grassling and share this with someone who still thinks the box is just cardboard.